I didn't believe in haunted houses until I spent a night inside one of America's most infamous crime scenes and realized the victims never left. I'd heard of it in passing. Locals called it the murder house, tucked away behind thick dying oaks on an unmarked gravel road in northern Indiana. There were no signs, no official address, just a rotting two-story farmhouse half swallowed by vines and shadows, with broken windows staring blankly into the forest like empty eye sockets. But what truly drew me there were the legends. They said back in 1978, a man named Richard Halloran killed his wife and 2 children with a shotgun before turning it on himself. The neighbors didn't hear the gunshots over the 4th of July fireworks. Their bodies lay decomposing for 4 days before the sheriff forced the door open. The crime scene photos were too graphic to release. Blood pooled down the narrow wooden stairs. The children were found huddled in the parents' bedroom, as if they'd run there to hide. Richard's body slumped in a corner, half his face missing from the blast. Over the decades, the house became a pilgrimage site for ghost hunters, teenagers, and journalists chasing headlines. Some saw shadowy figures in the upper hallway. Others heard a child crying from the locked basement. Nearly everyone who entered described the same suffocating darkness, as if something inside wanted them to leave. That's exactly why I went in. I arrived just before dusk. The trees were alive with cicadas and distant crows. As the sun bled red behind the tree line, I parked my car at the edge of the gravel driveway, my tires crunching loudly against the rocks. For a moment, I sat there in silence, gripping my steering wheel, staring at the sagging porch steps. The front door was missing entirely. Only darkness waited inside. I grabbed my camera, flashlight, and audio recorder, then walked towards the entrance. The porch boards moaned under my boots. Cobwebs clung to my hair as I ducked beneath the doorframe. The smell hit me instantly. Stale mildew, rotting wood, and something sour, something old. I flicked on my flashlight. Dust motes drifted like ash in the beam. The living room walls were stained with graffiti and peeled floral wallpaper. Beer cans littered the floor. The fireplace was bricked shut, but above it hung a shattered mirror. My reflection was fractured into a dozen jagged pieces. As I stepped deeper inside, the floor creaked sharply under my weight. Each footstep echoed through the silent house, vibrating with the memory of screams. I scanned the room with my flashlight, my pulse drumming in my ears. That's when I heard it. A faint sobbing sound, somewhere upstairs. I froze. Every hair on my arm stood up. It wasn't an echo from outside. It was too close, too clear. Forcing myself to move, I began climbing the narrow staircase. Each step groaned under my boots. The sobbing grew louder. A child's sob, high-pitched, ragged. It sounded like it was coming from the end of the hallway, where the children's bedrooms were located. I reached the top landing. The smell was stronger here, mold, decaying wood, and something metallic. I flicked my light towards the left door. The sobbing stopped instantly. Silence pressed against my eardrums. I opened the door. Inside, the walls were covered in childish crayon drawings, stick figures of a family holding hands, a big sun with rays stretching across the peeling wallpaper. The bed frame was still there, rusted and collapsed on one side. An old stuffed rabbit lay slumped in the corner, its eyes missing. I stepped inside, scanning every inch. My recorder was running, capturing my shallow breathing and the hum of insects outside. Suddenly, the room turned cold, ice cold. My breath fogged out in front of me, and then I heard it again, a quiet whisper near my ear. "Help us!" I spun around, flashlight shaking. Nothing there, just the empty doorway and dark hall. I swallowed hard, forcing myself to speak out loud. "Who's here with me?" The silence was thick, almost physical. My recorder's red light blinked steadily. Then a small shadow darted across the hallway. I stumbled backwards into the wall, my heart hammering so hard I thought it would burst. The shadow slipped into the master bedroom at the end of the hall. Trembling, I followed. The master bedroom door was half closed. I pushed it open with the edge of my boot. It creaked slowly, revealing the room where Richard Halloran had murdered his wife before shooting himself. The walls were stained dark with old blood. Faded police tape fluttered against the cracked window frame. An overturned dresser lay smashed on the floor, drawers pulled up violently. In the corner, a dark reddish stain spread out across the wooden floorboards like an oil spill. That's where he died, I thought. Suddenly, the smell of gunpowder filled the room. I gagged, choking on the acrid air. My flashlight flickered wildly. I slapped it against my palm, but the beam dimmed to a dull glow. Then I heard it, a deep, guttural growl behind me. I turned slowly. My dying flashlight illuminated the far corner. Something stood there. At first it looked like a man, tall, broad-shouldered, but its head was twisted at an unnatural angle, half its skull blown away. One empty eye socket gaped at me. Its mouth hung open, torn flesh dangling from its jawbone. It took a step forward, dragging one foot behind it with a sickening scraping sound. Its remaining eye burned with hatred and sorrow. My flashlight died completely. In the pitch darkness, I could hear it breathing. Wet, ragged breaths. I backed away until my shoulders hit the cold wall. The smell of blood and rot was overwhelming. Then I felt its hand close around my wrist. Ice cold, crushing. I screamed, thrashing violently, but it didn't let go. Suddenly, the room exploded in blinding white light. My flashlight flickered back to life, illuminating nothing but the empty room. My wrist burned with cold, bright red fingerprints already forming on my skin. I ran, down the hallway, down the stairs, into the living room. My boots slipped on the warped floorboards as I burst through the doorway, sprinting across the overgrown yard to my car. I didn't stop until I slammed the car door shut, locking it twice. My entire body was shaking so hard I could barely insert the keys. The sun had set completely now, leaving the world in deep purple twilight. I turned on the interior light and examined my wrist. 4 deep purple marks, ice cold to the touch. I glanced back at the house. In the second-story window, a figure was staring down at me. It was him, Richard Halloran, watching me, half his face blown away, one burned, accusing eye locked onto mine. I jammed the keys into the ignition and peeled out of the driveway, gravel spraying behind my tires. I didn't stop driving until I reached the motel 3 towns away. That night, as I lay in my motel bed, I listened back to my recorder. At the exact moment I heard the whisper upstairs, a voice had captured clearly on tape. It wasn't a child's voice. It was Richard Halloran's low, rasping voice, echoing from the grave. Get out, or die with us. I didn't sleep that night, or the night after, because now, weeks later, strange things keep happening. Every night at exactly 3:03 a.m., I hear footsteps pacing outside my bedroom door. When I gather the courage to look, there's nothing there, only faint muddy footprints leading down the hallway. Sometimes, I wake up with bruises around my wrists in the exact shape of fingers. And last night, I saw him standing at the foot of my bed, half his face gone, blood dripping onto my floor, watching me, waiting. What if spirits trapped in violent death follow anyone who trespasses on their final moments? What if he's already standing behind you right now, waiting to finish what he started? Would you dare to spend a night in the murder house, knowing that when you leave, you might never be alone again?